For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod driveline components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. WFO Radio is back on the air, and we are getting ready for the final Spring Nationals at Houston Raceway Park, presented by Pennzoil, and I am super excited. We got the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, going to join us just minutes from now, just seconds from now. And we're going to talk all about it. And you will get to make your comments in the chat section. If you're out there on YouTube, of course, we ask you to share, subscribe, click the bell, enjoy the show. Of course, we'll have the winners of the event next week. That's how it goes on WFO. Also have funny car driver Paul Lee going to be on the show tomorrow, 12 noon. So make a reminder or just subscribe, be ready. Paul Lee going to be joining us tomorrow because he's got big news that we'll be talking about in just a couple of minutes. But right now I want to say shout out to the people who make it possible, like Phillips Connect. Go to phillips-connect.com to find out more information. But trucks, trailers, over the road, obviously you sportsman racers, they make connected sensors that'll keep you safe and safer. Many fleets like Walmart, like Amazon, using the folks at Phillips Connect, and you can be too, monitoring tire pressures, knowing when your fleet has got a problem out there, and you can get your drivers off the road. Big thanks to Phillips Connect for jumping on board with WFO Radio. Total Seal Piston Rings. We've got a new episode of Hidden Horsepower up and available. Greg Anderson is the guest, and you may know him. He's pretty good. 5-time Pro Stock World Champion, 99 career wins, and didn't start out as an engine guy. Like, was not really a firewall forward kind of guy. Had to learn it to become what he became. And he tells us about that journey on Hidden Horsepower. Actually, very interesting. Also spends a little time, quote unquote, hacking on Hartford, which is cool. Check out Hidden Horsepower, but really it's all an exercise to get you familiar and feeling close and comfortable with the people at Total Seal. So when you build your next engine, or if you're an engine builder, you feel empowered to call them and ask them whatever questions you may have to unlock some of your engine's hidden horsepower. TotalSeal.com, big supporters of WFO Radio. VP Racing Fuels. Very excited to have VP Racing Fuels. We're going to have Freddie on the show in the coming weeks, talk a little bit about the science behind VP Racing Fuels. And for the racers out there, obviously, the purity and the consistency of the fuel is very vital, and the fact that you can make power. But for the fans of WFO who want to support the show and support VP, they have got a whole line of fuel additives and lubricants that are available out there in the auto parts stores across the country. Go to vpracingfuels.com, first show of the week, right? vpracingfuels.com, and sign up for their newsletter and get in on all the great information. They even have got great stuff for your man cave. One of the, most well-known logos in all of racing. And then there's FTIperformance.com. FTI, Paul Lee's company, based out of DeLand, Florida. High performance transmissions, torque converters, and they excel in the world of .90 racing, big money bracket racing, of course, Pro Mod, Top Dragster, etc. But this past weekend, FTI Performance really brought down the house with a final round victory with Kevin Brannon, the Rabbit, winning $1 Million Friday out there at the Spring Fling Million. Goes on to race Spencer Massey, and they are both FTI customers on a regular basis. How about Spencer Massey? Right? Was just on fire getting to the final round in that door slammer. But it was Kevin Brannon who wins his second $1 Million race. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And of course, with Paul tomorrow. Great stuff, though, to see those guys do well. And if you were watching the stream, it came down to thousandths of a second over and over again. And that's why FTI Performance is so helpful. Our great friends at Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com. Marvin Rodak, based out of Texas. Coffee, hot sauce, spice rub, everything good. Of course, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. And Samtech. If you're starting a career, if you're looking to become a machinist, by all means, go to their website, samtech.edu. Find out more information about how you can get an education get placed in a career, whether it be a CNC programmer, EFI tuner, or on one of the race teams out there, Sam Tech has got the hookup. And there you have it. Those are the people who make WFO Radio possible. Let's go out to Tucson, Arizona, and connect with the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, who I'm sure is stoked to be going racing this weekend out there at Houston Raceway Park. What's up, Alan? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Mixed emotions. I'm looking forward to going to Houston. It's a place I've spent a lot of time. When I was working with David, we did a lot of testing down there, and I'm very familiar with the racetrack and the neighborhood and the people, and the fact that we're going there for the last time makes it kind of bittersweet. But definitely looking forward to getting down there and doing some burnouts.
I agree. And on this moment of slight depression, I will give an update on my own depression losing track story. Palm Beach International Raceway. There was supposed to be a big meeting on Thursday with the Board of County Commissioners, and the meeting has been postponed. This was going to be the big final meeting. The meeting is now postponed at the request, as I understand it, of the developer, which, I don't know if that's a tactic or if it's a positive move or a negative move. It's just really a statement of fact. It is the racers have all been mobilized. A lot of stories out there, Racing Junk, a lot of stories beyond our normal NHRA drag racing media, more into the automotive media. People are starting to fight for this track. And so they postponed the meeting. So everyone that was getting ready to go to the meeting this weekend, stand down. We've received notification that it has been postponed till September. But
I'm sorry, but I don't know that that's bad news. I mean,
I think
to me
something.
If I'm the developer, and I'm confident that I'm just going to mow you guys over, come on, bring it, let's go. And if after the big showing that you guys had the last time that there was a meeting, when everybody showed up and was allowed to voice an opinion and put the cards on the table, if the developer now is all of a sudden going, okay, wait a minute, we weren't ready for this, then I take that as a positive. I don't think that's depressive or downer at all. I think that's positive.
Well, more of the general story, but yeah, the positive, the specifics of the scheduling of the meeting. I agree with you, Alan. Like, hey, who knows what's going on behind the scenes, right? It is the only racing facility of its kind, with a road course, with a go-kart track, with a all concrete drag strip. Like, maybe people are starting to really think about this. I don't know. I was told by someone that I trust that big developer, big money always wins. There's no way. Big money always wins. And if they want it, they're going to get it. And maybe they do want it, or maybe there's another place that was like a second choice, and they are like, maybe we'll get that one. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes and what heartstring might be being tugged by this ever so slightly. And so we'll just have to see. I just wanted to drop it in there. But yeah, we're going to go celebrate this weekend. We're going to celebrate a racing facility. Alan, you've been there, 88, I guess, was the first one. Eddie Hill, Mike Dunn, Bob Glidden. But it's been the Super Nats. It's been the Slick 50 Nats. It's been various sponsor Nats. But I guess since 99, mostly on, a little bit off, it's been the Spring Nationals at Houston Raceway Park. That's a legacy, 1988 to 2022.
Yeah, but nothing lasts forever, and they had a heck of a run. It's already been announced that they're going to be open for the rest of the year, and potentially into the beginning of next year. Even though at this point there's no plan for another NHRA national event to be there. But I understand the economics of it. I've been there enough times and watched enough history happen and know how special the place was. But I also understand that nothing lasts forever. So we'll see what the next step is. I know at least in Houston, there are a couple of other operating facilities. So is there the potential for one of those to, host an NHRA national event? I don't know that. But I know this, if I'm the guy that owns one of those, I'm making a phone call. What would have to happen? Can we make this happen? Is there something that I can do for the good of my racetrack in order to keep us going into the market, which is, the fourth largest city in the country? And I hate that we're losing this track. At least that's what it looks like. But I'm not ready to sign off completely that we've lost Houston yet.
And you know what? Neither am I. Neither am I. That's for those who haven't been to the area, and I understand, like Alan has been everywhere, and there was a time where Alan would be talking about something, Bandamere say, and I would be like, oh man, using my imagination to try to think about what he was telling me, right? And then when he showed me the reality, and I remember that, brought us up there into the top eliminator club, and real proud of it. It was really great. And I saw it, and it's like, this guy was right about everything he said. This place is so amazing. Right? Houston is a very different situation. It's kind of in the middle of an industrial area that was probably just nothing when they first built it, right? When they first built it, it was probably just nothing. And
yeah, it was in the middle of a bunch of fields. I mean, literally. But, you know, that you can't stop progress, and, you know, the cities keep expanding. And I really felt being surrounded by industrial parks was a good thing, because, you know, industrial parks, as a general rule, aren't going to whine about you making noise at midnight on Saturday. You know, it's not like they, you know, put a school across the street, or, you know, big dollar houses across the street, or somebody that was going to be wanting quiet and not want the disruption. But then it gets to the point, as I understand it, that, you know, one of the developers from the industrial park just sees the land as so valuable. And if I'm Seth Angel, I don't blame him. You know, if I'm looking at my business, and you and I have had this discussion a number of times, right? If I'm looking at my business, and just to pick a round number, I'm making $1,000 a year on my business, and you come offer me $5,000 for the dirt, of course not. I mean, in 5 years, I'm going to make $5,000, and I'll still own the dirt. I mean, why would you sell that? But if I'm in a business that I'm making $1,000 a year, and I know I can go on making $1,000 a year, and you come in and go, okay, here's the deal, I'll give you $750,000 for the dirt. Well, I ain't going to be there 750 years. So at that point, you go, you know what? Here's my dirt, and whatever happens, what's on top of the dirt just gets, you know, turned under. But you know, I completely understand the economics of it, and I love some of the, you know, keyboard crew chiefs and some of the guys who, you know, I'd never sell. Yes, you would.
Yeah, depending on the numbers.
Be honest,
what are the numbers?
You might look at, is there someplace 10 miles down the road or 30 miles down the road where I can go in and make the investment, build another racetrack? You might do that. But, you know, if you've got an asset that is worth $1,000 a year and somebody offers you $750,000, you're selling it. I mean, you're selling it. Anybody would.
WFO is not for sale, people. Don't even try to make me a ludicrously high offer. Well, it's not a real offer, Alan. I'm trying to bait somebody in here. Take it. The day a real offer of craziness.
I've owned that car since I was 17 years old.
Yes.
It is absolutely positively not for sale.
Right.
Every time somebody says, wow, would you sell it?
Yeah.
Make me an offer.
Yes. Right.
And, you know, if somebody says, you know, I love the guy that said, oh, I'll give you $5,000 for it. I said, I paid the guy that painted it more than that. But if somebody ever comes up to me and says, I'll give you $1 million for it, here's the key. Let me show you where the switch is for the water pump. And
truly indecent proposal. But at that point, I think you have to say yes, especially with the automobile. And then, you know, he'll get tired of it in a couple months and sell it back to you for half. But yeah, it's sad. It's good. I don't know. Money talks, right? Like this is what it's based on. But I agreed with you, Alan, in that when I first saw Baytown and I saw that giant building, guys, like buildings are getting bigger. Everything's getting bigger, right? Like back in the day, you remember watching Caddyshack, right? Like Al Chervik, the super uber millionaire developer, had a yacht called Seafood. And in the 1982 or something, when they made that movie, that was the biggest boat that they got, right? It was like a, 45-foot fishing boat. Now,
my dinghy's bigger than your whole boat.
Exactly. You scratched my anchor. But now yachts are like 400 and 500 feet. The building that is across the street from Atlanta, like I'm driving by it for like multiple minutes. I'm still driving by this building. The building next to Baytown is the biggest building I think I've ever seen. What are they doing there? And obviously all the shipping containers are coming off the, various, giant ships and barges, et cetera. And they're going in there and they're getting sorted out for where they're going next on the back of trucks. I felt like that was a good thing for the track too. But I guess when on Seth's side of the deal, and Seth, by the way, has been great to WFO over the years with Race Day Score. When he was doing that, he jumped on as a sponsor and we were gambling and it was fun. Not knowing what's going to happen 1 year, 5 years. They want to offer him, we'll let you hang around for another year. Well, that's stress. It's trouble. What's going to happen the following year? Everybody wants a little security. And so in this situation, it's a bummer, but I understand. I just wish they would say, you know what? This racetrack, it's such a small part of that industrial area. Maybe it's not over yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will. And I also, I like Seth. I go, all the way back to when, the Gays were partners. The Gay family and the Angel family actually partnered up and built that back in the 80s. And, the reason that we have a specific announcer booth in there is because Seth and I were having a conversation about it one day, and he said, that makes sense, I'll do it. And we came back the next year, and it separated us. We used to be, people that are watching the show don't, but we used to be up at the front window of what was used as, a conference room, a meeting area. Just people would come in and if they wanted to talk to somebody, they would be hanging out behind us. And so there was always distraction. There was always background noise. There was always just something else going on. And there was, more than a few times when we would have to turn around and go, hey guys, shut the hell up. We got microphones up here. We're trying to work. And so having a conversation with Seth one time, it's like, look, if you could just build a wall, you've got your meeting room. We've got our announce booth. We won't bug you. And he literally went, I can do that. Yeah. And we came back the next year and had the wall. And I think everybody's been happy with that. So, but Seth is also a guy that's always been very customer friendly. If you had a suite out there and you needed something, wanted something, he'd figure out a way to make it happen. And, for a number of years, David Nickens had a suite out there, and actually he may still have. But as being a suite holder, that gave us a special rate on track rentals. So if we wanted to go out and test, there were literally days when we would call 8 o'clock in the morning and tell Seth, hey, we need to come out and make a few runs. And he'd say, I'll have an ambulance and a safety crew ready to go at 10. And on, Wednesday, we would drive the truck out there and go do what we needed to do. So, he's always been very dedicated to the track. He's got great staff. He's got everything about the place was a positive as far as my standpoint was. But I also understand from the business side, there comes a point when it's just like, look, guys, this makes financial sense. And having been in the racing business for now 35 years, I also understand a guy going, maybe it's just time to do something else. And, I'm sure that if somebody came in and offered more money to buy the land and save the racetrack, that probably could have been done at one point. But would you make that $750,000 investment knowing your return is going to be about $1,000 a year? And right. The answer is obviously no. So, will there be another one built someplace? Maybe. Is there another track in Houston that could host a national? Maybe. And like I said before, I hate the fact that we're losing Houston Raceway Park, but I'm not ready to give up on the Houston market, the town yet.
Definitely not. And that's really the story for everybody out there. Like, we could move. Hopefully new tracks get built, or tracks that have been on the tour come back, or, the whole rumor about Circuit of the Americas. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Austin, Formula One track, international notoriety of that facility. It's kind of like the only American track that resembles some of the stuff that has been built in the Middle East. All that is amazing, but it's about the markets. The markets. Where's the media? Where are the people at? Where is the media? We could build the most amazing facility in the middle of Wyoming, but if there's nobody there to see it, to cover it, or showcase it, it doesn't, the old tree that falls in the woods doesn't make a sound. So we'll see. We'll go there. We'll have fun. We'll celebrate. We'll have a wild final event party. Gonna be great. And then we'll see what happens after that fact. But hey, look, just like some things in life are death and taxes, certain. One Caddyshack quote brings a whole string of others. Billy Carroll. But if we get rid of all the golfers, they're going to lock us up and throw away the key. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sandy. So I'm sure there will be more. But one, it's like a potato chip. You can't just say one. There's multiple Caddyshack comments, and I'm sure more will come. All right, let's get into the news, Alan. Paul Lee has announced his new crew chiefing duo. And this has been, percolating. Dustin Heim and Jason Bunker. And to me, this is really exciting because it's a direct correlation to the car count. You got Tony Girardo coming out there doing, better than most people thought a little team could do. Oh my gosh, look at this. What's going on? They're going down the track. They're competing. They're running well. Who are those guys? What are they doing? Oh yeah, man, Jason Bunker. He's big in the nostalgia. He does a lot. He's got a great racing background. This guy's good. He's good. And next thing you know, here we go. He's a co-crew chief on a big show car with Paul Lee. And Paul Lee has got a very promising dynamic duo. And oh, by the way, they're unveiling a new wrap for the McLeod Clutches car this weekend, and he'll be on to talk about it tomorrow. Mr. Paul Lee will be joining us at 12 noon tomorrow here on WFO Radio. But I just think that's kind of great news for Paul.
Yeah, way to spill the beans, Joe. Hey, there's going to be big news tomorrow. Let me show you.
No, it's out today, and I got permission. I have permission. I checked.
Written, notarized, 3 copies. Paul's a lawyer. You know that, right?
I do. Yeah. And a karate black belt and just countless other things. He speaks Italian. Like Paul, like the second you think you know something about Paul, world-ranked poker player, like the guy is a genuine international man of mystery, except it's not really that mysterious. He does it. But I don't know. I think it's a good hire. I think it's an interesting hire, and I'm excited about what they're going to do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it as well. You know, as you said, Jason was able to take Tony's car without a huge budget, although to be fair, they had modern parts and pieces and good stuff. They weren't working with junk over there, and make the car run better than I think a lot of people expected it to, especially running on such a limited basis. You know, information is king. And so being able to go over there with Paul, hopefully run more races, hopefully be able to build on, and you know, Dustin being over there has got a wealth of knowledge as well. If those two guys click, then I expect to see Paul, stepping up his performance almost immediately.
Yes. Well, it'll be interesting because I think Jason was working on a 6-disc over there and Paul's a 5-disc, but I think they'll figure it out. And Dustin Heim working with Tobler all those years. And, I think it'll end up working out well. This person talking about Toyota throwing money at teams, but that's a good thing, man. That's what happens. Like, you want people to value the sport with money. Like, that's the thing. You want people to value the properties. It's a little bit different. This guy wants to know, is there a possibility of running 2 events at Gainesville? I think the area could handle it. I don't know what NHRA would want to do about that. But, Alan, do you see Milan Dragway in Michigan having an NHRA event in the near future, asks Blake.
I don't know. And I am not, I'm obviously not in the corporate office. You can see where I spend my days. It's right behind me. I know at this point, everything is being discussed. Okay. If somebody calls and says, hey, I've got a little track on 2 acres and all we run is Saturday night street cars, could we do something? NHRA is taking a phone call. There are certain minimum requirements to have a national event, as far as concrete walls for one, as far as how long the concrete goes down the racing surface for one, as far as paved pit area for one. There are just a number of things that you must meet these minimum requirements in order to even be considered for a national event. And I couldn't tell you, I have never personally been to Milan. I don't know if they have all that in place or if they could, but I can promise you, if Milan is interested, somebody at NHRA will talk to them. And that's just that, that's the world we live in right now. One thing positive that came out of this whole COVID mess is we've never done that before. Is done. That will never be part of the conversation again when somebody says, hey, I got an idea. So, a lot of discussions being had. I've heard people say, well, could we go to XYZ racetrack and run an 8-mile national event? Before COVID, I would have told you, never in a million years. Now, let's talk about it. That doesn't mean it's going to be rubber stamped and happen, but I guarantee you, if somebody had an 8-mile facility that had everything else in place to have a national event and wanted to have a discussion, the discussion would take place. I don't know what would happen after that, but they would certainly have a discussion.
And obviously the whole pandemic thing, total nightmare. We're seeing that, we're getting to the point where even masks are coming off on airplanes and they're becoming optional, certainly. And I always get a little afraid to say, like, it's over, because then it comes back, right? Like the bad guy in the horror movie. But we're getting to that point. And I think it's very obvious. Like, I think we've come together to the point and done what we had to do, and we're being rewarded for it. And it's great news. But we did learn a lot, and a lot of people were shaken out of comfortable positions, and the willingness to try new things, which is so important early on in a business and early on. I think racers willing to talk, willing to work. The sanctioned NHRA, they've done so many things that they would never have done 3 years ago, right? Like, no, we got a good thing going here, man. Let's just stick it out. Now they're willing to do different stuff and change it up. And so that hopefully will be a lesson that sticks around for a long time. Flexibility, got to be willing to try, got to be willing to do new things. And, who knows what lies ahead. Ooh, Gary Emmons out there. I was in high school when Houston Raceway Park opened. Now I'm 49. How did that happen? Yeah, Gary. How does that happen? Speaking of being 49, let's talk to a guy who's a little older than that. What's going on with that whole aging thing, Alan?
Yeah, well, there's two alternatives, and getting older is the better of the two.
Yeah, exactly. I just went to a 50th birthday party in Los Angeles this past weekend. Surprise for one of my high school friends, right? And 50, like, oh my gosh, 50. But 50 is the new 30 now anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Like 80 is the new 60.
Last year, Tony Stewart threw me a surprise 58th birthday party, and that was really, really nice of him. It will forever be in his debt. Suite at the Bellagio, a lot of high-powered racing people all showed up, and it was really pretty special. I almost missed it because we rained out in Houston. Was it Houston? I think it was Houston. Maybe it was Dallas. Wherever we went on the weirdo schedule, and so I had to fly in, and he fortunately got the things kicked off and got everything going, and kept it going until I could get there, because I didn't get there until about 9 o'clock or whatever it was that evening. But that was really nice of him. And
way to go, Smoke! Pandering to the announcers.
For those of you who don't know, Tony and I have the same birthday, and last year his 50th. So, there are a lot of people thought it was his party actually, but my story is I had the birthday before he did. Therefore,
that makes sense. That actually makes sense. Corey Mack and I share a birthday as well. It's kind of fun to share a birthday, with the celebrity racers, right? Corey Mack, Tony Stewart, Joan Allen. Yeah, they win. We kind of lose. But that's okay. All right, let's talk about the Spring Nationals. Pro Stock bikes are back. I'm excited about this. Michael Ray going to be on one of a bike again. There's kind of a lot of interesting stories. The return of former champ Ellie Tonglet. Ellie is going to be back. I'm excited. A lot of people want to participate in this final race at Houston Raceway Park. Matt Smith, the champ, though, is going to be on a Suzuki. The original, the maiden voyage didn't go as well as he would have liked. I remember the visual of Matt, like, rail riding that wall on the left-hand side of the racetrack. No quitting him. It was kind of scary, but he got down through there. But I'm happy the bikes are back. I have, over the years, if the bikes aren't there, it just is a different feeling of an NHRA national event for me.
Yeah, I agree. And, the bikes have got a big history at Houston. The fact that the racetrack is sea level, and, depending on what the weather forecast is, we've had some Disneyland air there for Pro Stock, whether it's two-wheel or four-wheel. There's been a lot of history made there. And also the Louisiana contingent all considers that their home racetrack. And over the years, there have been a lot of power players out of Louisiana in the Pro Stock motorcycle ranks. So I think that it's good, whoever made the decision ultimately to say, hey, we got to have the bikes here for the final Spring Nationals was a good one. And I'm looking forward to it. I think, after Gainesville, there's a lot of people that are looking forward to getting another crack at it, simply because Gainesville was such an anomaly. And Karen and her team nailed it literally right out of the box. And nobody else even got really close to them all weekend long. So I think that, everybody now is looking at, let's see if we can get up there in the same territory where she is. And I promise you, her team is going, okay, we know how to get there now. And let's just keep living the high life up here.
Angel, the winningest active Pro Stock motorcycle racer over there at Houston. Going to be very interesting to see that Karen Stouffer story, right? Does that level of dominance continue? Does she still have a considerable amount on the rest of the field, or have people caught up? Nothing going to send people back to the dynos and back to the engine rooms than one of the competition laying down a performance, like a historic dominant performance like Karen did at the Gator Nationals.
But how many times have we seen, right? You come out in a qualifying session and, man, Joe just blisters the field. And then you come back in the next qualifying session and we've gotten a little closer. And then by the time we get to the second round of the semifinals, we've kind of closed the gap a little bit. In Gainesville, he never had that chance because round one qualifying was never completed. They only sent, 6 bikes down the racetrack or something like that before they pulled the plug on qualifying. So round one, Sunday, was literally the first time on the racetrack for a lot of people. Karen hit it right out of the box and just kept doing it. And if you missed, there wasn't the opportunity to go back and make adjustments and come back and try again. So, but more power to them. That was a historic day in Pro Stock motorcycle, and I guarantee you that's one that'll live for a long time. And, but we'll have to see now if she really does have a huge advantage over everybody, or if just the fact that she figured it out quick made it look like she had a bigger advantage than she really does over everybody.
Here's an interesting question. We got people. I just want to shout out to Carlos, who's coming down from Alaska to this race because he grew up in that area. And that's what final races are about. You got to go. You got to go. You got to be there. You got to say goodbye. It's a very tough deal. But George wants to know, any bikes still running carburetors, like those electronic carburetors they had a few years back? Is everybody on fuel injection? My guess is, based on anecdotal evidence that I have occurred through talking to people, everybody is fuel injection with exception of like an occasional part-time bike. But like Michael Phillips, for instance, like what's Michael Phillips got on his bike? That I don't know the answer. Maybe you know more than I do.
Tim Kalungian was going back and forth, but I believe that he has dedicated himself to the fuel injection model now. And I think that he's the last. I don't believe there's a carbureted V-twin out there anywhere. So if there's a carburetor, I think you nailed it. I think it would be a Suzuki, maybe that doesn't run the full tour. I think pretty much everybody has migrated to fuel injection.
Exactly. All right, let's talk pro stock, where we got some big returns as well. Shane Tucker back for another one, which is kind of cool for the Australian fans out there. Kenny Delco, who has been nursing like a rotator cuff situation. Kenny told the story. I don't know if you heard it, but he was lifting a garbage bag. He was taking a garbage bag to put it in the garbage can, and he lifted it up, and as he doing the one hand, like and pop. And that had him sidelined for a while. He's been out there with a bum wing, but Kenny Delco going to be back. Super excited about that. I'm interested to see where we are. Elite has appeared to have slight performance advantage. Erica winning 2 of the 4 races. I don't know that she would trade him for this one, but I think she might. Final race at Houston, the track that started it all for her. And I think E is going to be on a mission. I don't know if she's going to be evil E this weekend, but she's definitely going to be on a mission E.
Wouldn't you think Kenny Delco would have people to do that?
I think Kenny Delco is the kind of guy who likes to throw away his own garbage. I would think,
I have people. What are we going to do with the garbage? Have one of the people do it. Yeah. I think, Erica obviously would love to win the last race there, but she's not the only Texan. Roger Brogdon would love to win the last race there. The McGahays, even though they're from the other side of the state, it's still Texas, baby. They would like to be the ones to win the last race there, as would anybody else on the property. Is it extra special for Erica because she's been going out there since she was a little kid? Probably. Does that make her more motivated? I'm not sure how you could be more motivated than Erica is normally, especially after Gainesville. And, Erica, I love you, but she screwed up Gainesville with the best car in pro stock. And she came back in Vegas and said, I ain't doing that again. And it paid off. So I think she's going to come in with that attitude. I don't know that you could motivate Erica any more than she already is. But pro stock all year has been fun. And, it has looked like Elite maybe has a tick of a performance advantage. But remember, we've had a couple of weeks off. And I guarantee you, it's not like the KB guys have been sitting on the beach someplace. So, it's going to continue to be the war that it's been, but I will not be surprised if, like Christian Quadra, look at the way he's driving, right? Holy smokes, you put that guy within a half a tenth of the field, and he's got a shot at making rounds. Mason McGahey's been knocking a tree down just the same, so I think that, the whole dynamic of pro stock is changing. We saw so many of the younger faces the last couple of years, and now the very young faces are stepping up big.
Yes. Oh, well, the driving is really what I love. It's one of the reasons I originally gravitate towards pro stock as a kid, just because of the close races and the amazing driving. That's what I want to see. And we're seeing that come to the front again. 8 Texans on the entry list. Quadras, 3 of them. The McGahays, 2 of them. Chris was on the other side of that big Erica win a few years ago. I'm sure he'd love to turn that around. But, there's one guy out there who's kind of had a rough start to the season, who, for whatever reason, I think 3 of his 5 pro stock wins have come in Texas, and that's Matt Hartford. Hartford, he's got a thing going in Texas, maybe going to a happy place and can get things turned around. They've been trying to shake it off a little bit and have been moving in the right direction. Would love to go deep into the rounds here at this one.
Well, I can tell you, if he's looking for a happy place in Houston, he knows where to find it. There's no doubt about it. It's kind of on the other side of the racetrack, or the other side of town from the racetrack, but don't worry, he got it locked into GPS. I also think because I was just thinking about this when you were talking about, is Dallas Glenn still one of the young guns in pro stock? I mean,
right. How old is Dallas? He's 30, right?
But he's only in his second year,
yeah.
And nobody looks at him like a beginner. I mean, everybody looks at Dallas like one of the veterans, and I think like Robert Hight is living proof that you can absorb through osmosis the right way and the right habits to drive one of those things if you've spent enough time around it and if you've paid attention, and he's obviously done both.
Dallas Glenn, I think I would encourage everyone to go to that pit and watch Dallas work. There has been this arc of, these guys, and I used to like watching, Bob Glidden work on the car himself. And, now it's not like, go watch Dallas Glenn. Just stand by his pit under that awning. He's like, we've got an awning now. Like, wow, super excited that they've got an awning. He and his dad,
but
it's a pop-up awning. It's the kind, it's not like comes off the trail. He's like, wow, we got something to keep he is old school as it gets. And, there are things he's not doing on the car, sure, but he's doing most everything on his car, and he's driving, and he's fun to watch, and he's engaging with the fans. He's talking to people, having a good time. He's bringing his own flavor to it. So Dallas is, the sport will be so much better off if Dallas Glenn could hang out for a long time and go out there and win some races. But I'm thinking Troy Coughlin Jr. with his brand new car. I'm thinking Aaron Stanfield. You mentioned Louisiana, right? Coming in off a race that he's probably pretty annoyed that, I think he had a 50 light and came up short. Kid Chaos has been knocking at the door. And Greg Anderson, right? He's got that milestone. The next win is his 100th win. And when's that going to happen? So many great stories in Pro Stock. It's really difficult to handicap.
Yeah, I'm just, bring it on. Let's get to Friday night qualifying and get started.
Yes, well, exactly. And I'm excited about Friday night qualifying. Funny car, talked to Caps last week. Caps has got his big announcement following this race. He has said, after Houston, we're going to make our big announcement. So no pressure on Caps for that one.
Oh, you're not going to give it away? You're not going to show the artist rendering of the Joe and Alan Top Fuel car, part of Ron Caps Racing?
No, I am not. See, the Paul Lee stuff, I got permission to show. Like everybody said, hey, man, that's great. I like that, by the way. You see, there's a phoenix right in front of the injector. There's a phoenix there, and that phoenix represents, obviously, rising from the ashes, which I think is kind of an extreme analogy or comparison. But I'm excited about that. I do not speak if I do not have permission to reveal something like that. But it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. We've had 4 funny cars that have been the class of the field so far. Obviously, Hagan. Did you see Hagan get branded? Did you see that?
No.
Do you know what it means to get branded?
Yes.
He got branded. He's got a reel up there. We were talking about it on Ignition, which is up on YouTube, by the way. They got a whole reel. They plasma cut a logo, part of that Radford school, I think. They welded a brand. They went over there, and he's, Hagan, any excuse to be shirtless for Matt Hagan, right? Like, whatever you got to do. Like, hey, can you hand me that? Yeah, sure, I'll take my shirt off. And they branded this dude, and it's the real deal. I don't know how I feel about it. I was a little frightened, actually. But Hagan, obviously, Height, Caps, Cruiser, and then everybody else. Those cars have been running the most consistent. But this is a big one. Blake Alexander back, looking to try to get a round win or a race win, excuse me. Should be very interesting to see. But the aforementioned Paul Lee, they'd really like to turn their season around right here.
Well, certainly. And Paul Lee would like to come out and just show everybody I made the right choice. Okay. What I had wasn't working, and I needed to make a change, and I did. And now we're going in the right direction. And, we've seen it so many times over the years. Like, nobody thinks that Jimmo forgot how to tune a nitro car. I mean, he moved over to another team and ran very well last week out in Vegas. So it's just sometimes you just don't have the right chemistry. You don't have them clicking. And you got to make a change. So what Paul wants to do right now is show everybody that, look, we made the right change, and we're ready to jump in and be competitive. Just remember where you heard it. I will not be surprised if the Toyotas have a breakout weekend this weekend. I just think, both JR and Alexis, their teams with the new body, not having a ton of time to test, not having a ton of opportunity to go out and, work on the balance and just the fact that it's different. But I really think that those two teams now both have got a few extra runs under their belt, and I will not be the least bit surprised if one of the Toyota teams jumps up and and joins that Fab Four that you mentioned.
Well, that would be great. And it only makes sense. You can't switch something as major as the body and just keep going exactly the same as you were. Meanwhile, Dell was in the final with Alexis's car out there at the 4-wide Vegas. So it's not like they've been struggling, but just that consistency and the car doing exactly what you want it to do. Max is going to his first NHRA national event this weekend. Been to a lot of races, but never a national event. That changes this weekend beyond Stoke, says Max. Here's one from Spence, which is kind of interesting. I don't know the answer. Maybe you do. With all the tire issues in the roundy-round world and changes to supply, prices, tire rules for NHRA, he wants to know about, tires. What I will say is, in my conversations with people, supply chain issues and concern for the back half of the season with all parts, everything, is one of the reasons for keep maintaining the 3 qualifying sessions, right? Racers want to race. NHRA is kind of smart. I was thinking about this. Like, they don't want to get to the final few races of the season and have people running out of parts and pieces. And so I think that's a big part for the 3 qualifying sessions. What do you know, Al?
Well, I don't know anything for fact, but what I think, looking from the outside, is if you're talking about Top Fuel and funny car tires, they're the same that they've been the last few years. And I think Goodyear's got a big enough stock of things that, they weren't operating on a, in the door, out the door basis. With NASCAR, the fact that they went from a 15-inch wheel to an 18-inch wheel, the fact that they're designing a wider tire, the fact that now, they had to make the dirt tires for Bristol. They are in experimental mode over there. And I think that that's a big part of the problem is, we've got to make 100 tires to go test. Oh, that didn't work. We got to make 100. Okay, well, now this is what we're going to run. So now we got to make 600 of these things. And I think that puts them in a little bit different mode. But the fact that we run the same tire at every racetrack, and Goodyear is very comfortable building that tire, and I believe has a pretty solid inventory. They certainly don't operate on a just-in-time basis with the Top Fuel tire stuff. So I personally am not concerned about that. There are some other things that towards the end of the season, as you said, could prove to be a headache, but tires, I don't believe, are one of them.
Right. Just in time, hopefully a relic of the past. But then again, that's why everybody needs warehouse space. So maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. There's always some sort of a cascading thing that is going to affect us. Shout out to Chris Cunningham, becoming a member of the Miami Hollywood Speedway Hall of Fame this past weekend. Daryl Gwynn, part of the board. There's Jerry and Chris. Of course, Chris was on that Daryl Gwynn team that was so successful for many years, now co-crew chief with Robert Height. But speaking of, racers keeping the memory of a track from days gone by alive, the Miami Hollywood Speedway Hall of Fame, Chris Cunningham, great example, was one of those little kids running around under the giant concrete grandstand, Miami Hollywood, got into all kinds of trouble, and with DG as well and many others, now a member of the Miami Hollywood Speedway Hall of Fame. I just wanted to note that here on WFO, where I am also a member, just want to say. Far less deserving, by the way.
Right on. Well, congratulations to Chris. And, hey, anything that puts your name in the Hall of Fame is a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. Any other thoughts about funny car you want to point out? Chad Green, he's been really moving in the right direction. Had a great race out there in Gainesville. Thinking about Alexis, thinking about Tim Wilkerson, who could probably have come out of the box a little bit stronger based on how he ran last year. But the field, stacked top to bottom.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a funny car fan right now, and I'm gonna stick with what I said. It will not surprise me in the least to see the Toyotas have a big weekend. I just think that they've got enough runs under their belt now. They both stayed and ran on Monday after Vegas, and I think they both now are getting closer to the comfort zone. That's going to put them, in a more competitive mode.
It's so interesting, depending on the part of the country we're in, is, okay, pro stock now, who would have thought this 5 years ago, right? But everywhere we go, we've got about 20 pro stockers, sometimes 22, but got about 20 pro stockers. Funny car, depending on where we are, sometimes we've got 18, sometimes we've got 20, sometimes we've got 16 like we do this weekend, at least on the entry list. We've got 18 top fuelers this weekend. We're in Texas, right? Texas, top fuel, makes perfect sense. Kind of interesting. And some of the returns, right? Like, Alan has got a jet buzzing his shop right now. It's like flying low. Denied, Ghost Rider. Denied. But, of course, the Torrences out there to win. Brittany, the most recent winner. But we do have some, Buddy Hull is back out there this weekend. Mitch King back out there. Cam Ferret back out there. I'm pretty excited about what we've got. And what about, I guess Dan Mercier is going to run A Fuel. I know what Rob Wendland posted some pictures of himself heading down south. Tony Schumacher, a Texan, trying to get, keep going after the big final round. But we're going to have a great field in Top Fuel as well.
Yeah, I think, Steve Torrence really, to me, is the question mark in Top Fuel. And not that he hasn't run pretty good, but he hadn't won yet. And you got to go back a ways to the last time he went 4 races or 5 races without planting one in the winner's circle. So, we all know, right? Sometimes you got to back up a little bit when you're trying to gain back the advantage on the field. For a number of years, or the last 3 or 4 anyway, it looked like he and Brittany were the class of the field. And now some of the others have closed up on him a little bit. So, they're doing a little experimenting, I'm sure, trying to figure out how do we get back to having a performance advantage. But being in Texas is going to be a big incentive. I'm still waiting for Alan Johnson to bust out with Doug Coletta. I think that, there was just something wasn't quite right. And I think now they've had enough time to fix whatever that was. And I don't know what it was. But, Alan Johnson doesn't normally go, 4 or 5 races with a new team without busting the thing into the winner's circle. I think Mike Salinas has been a very pleasant surprise, and I think he's going to continue to run the way he's been running. But, I think it's, again, going to be a very, very competitive field. But Steve Torrence, in my mind, is the one that really, when's he going to bust out? Because we all know what that team's capable of.
You remember Jason Galvin asked Bobby Lagana a question on the starting line in Vegas, and Bobby, who is normally very, just like, pro, positive. Everybody, we love you. We love America. We love you. Thank you. We love you. Right. Kind of said something like, hey, you smoked the tires a couple of times in qualifying. People think you're struggling. He wanted everybody to know that they're trying stuff. They're experimenting with stuff. But my point is, though, that there's a push-pull between wanting to go out and win and trying and experimenting to stay in that position. And they're obviously in that situation right now. They're doing some stuff. They're learning some stuff. At what point did they decide they want to win? And the final race at Houston might be that place.
Could be. And, with I believe Billy's coming back out there as well. So, they're going to have plenty of motivation. And even though they're not from necessarily the Houston area specific, I think they're a little bit closer to Dallas, but I think that they're going to have plenty of friends, family, customers, folks down there that they work with, maybe employees. So they're going to definitely be wanting to put their best foot forward.
And Johnny West will be helping out Billy, as far as I know, once again. And that's kind of an interesting story as well, how they're running that team. But going to be very excited. You mentioned Mike Salinas. I've been loving watching Mike Salinas this year bust out. Like, I feel like he feels comfortable now. Like, all right, I've been like, I've got friends here. I can have a little fun. I can talk a little trash. I can say what I want. Not really guarded individual as he was originally when he first showed up, which, by the way, makes perfect sense. That's kind of the way I handle myself. Like, I don't go, to a party where I don't know anybody and take my shirt off, right? Right? Like that, like Matt Hagan would. Now he knows that he's got fans. He's appreciated. His family's around. People love him. And Salinas is like this character all of a sudden.
He is. And the fact that everybody wrote him off last year when Alan Johnson, when it officially was announced that Alan was leaving, everybody went, well, that's the last we'll ever hear of Mike Salinas. And he basically told everybody that would listen, no, it ain't. And I think that he's showing now what he was talking about, that he was confident in his team. Bringing Rob Flynn on to be the head guy over there now and take over as the crew chief. They're still working with a lot of the same people, the same tune-up. One thing that AJ is notorious for over the years, when he leaves a team, he leaves the notebook and leaves the information and leaves so whoever comes in behind him doesn't have to scramble around and start from scratch. And, Mike is just showing everybody that, for everybody that penciled him out, pencil him back in, because he's going to be here for the long run.
Yes, exactly. And you're mentioning Doug, the winningest active driver there, along with Tony Schumacher, 3 wins. Kind of interesting. This is a track that wasn't really dominated in Top Fuel. Funny Car Force has got it with 7. Kenny Bernstein and Larry Dixon, the other 2 who have 3. That is kind of an interesting number. Also want to shout out Alex Laughlin. First Top Fuel race of the year, or second for Alex. So he'll be back. And Doug Foley, who runner up out there at Gainesville in that great final round, will be back also. First time we see Doug since Gainesville, which feels like it was so long ago, Alan, and we've only had one race. Like, what's up? The start of the year has been kind of truncated. We're going to get going now, though, with a little back-to-back Houston-Charlotte.
Yeah, Houston-Charlotte, then a week off, and then wherever we go after that, Richmond, and then division. Yeah, we're going to start picking up a little bit. But no, I think Doug Foley. I'm still surprised that Doug Foley didn't go to Vegas after as well as he ran down there in Gainesville. I figured it'd be worth a diesel fuel to head out there, but hey, he's the guy that knows his budget, knows what he can do, and he's going to make the most of the races he goes to. I think he showed us that down in Gainesville.
Scott wants everybody to give a big thumbs up, especially if you're watching on YouTube and all that. He knows the algorithms in YouTube and how it works, and the more thumbs ups we get, the more people are forced to watch the show. So everybody hook us up on that. Someone mentioned only 5 top alcohol funny cars, though. That is a little bit, that's the one weak spot that we're all trying to pump up in the world of NHRA, I think. Randy Myers got his solution that he's working on. Your thoughts on any of the other categories? Obviously, Comp Eliminator, Brogdon. We've got an attention in the pits on Brogdon's Nova wagon out there that we did in Vegas. That launched today. Hopefully, you guys will go check it out. But we got, a top alcohol dragster is plentiful. Your thoughts on any of the other classes that will be in action this weekend, trying to win the final Spring Nationals at Houston Raceway Park?
Well, just remember that Houston Raceway Park is home for a lot of the big players down there, especially when you get into the Lucas Series. And one group in particular is the Emmons boys. We haven't seen them this year. And, the championship title defense, I'm assuming, is going to start here for Jerry. I expect them to have their whole fleet of cars out there. They're just the sportsman racing down in Texas. Comp Eliminator, because Roger Brogdon has gone down there and drummed up some financial support. And so that's made that a real hotbed for Comp Eliminator racing down in that part of the world. They always have solid top dragster and top sportsman classes. You mentioned the alcohol funny car. I wish I had a solution. Everybody wishes they had a solution. It's a difficult problem to solve. It's an expensive class to run, especially if you want to do it at the top level. If you want to do it like the Bartones do and like the Gordons do and like Rick Jackson's team does, and it's an expensive proposition. And so they're just, at this point in time, not a ton of people, obviously, they're looking to go out there and spend money and get involved at that level. So will potentially some dragster people make the switch? I don't know, maybe. As the economy continues to pick back up and things get back to more normal, will some of the cars that have been mothballed come out? Boy, I sure hope so. But if there was a magic wand solution to fix the category, believe me, we would have done it.
Exactly. And Chris says that there's a Midwest Drag Racing Series event in Memphis, and that hurts the top alcohol funny car count. Maybe it does. It makes sense. But really, you mentioned Doug Gordon and the Bartone brothers team. It's like that. That's really what I think. When people don't think they have a chance, like, do you have a chance? Like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Because these 4 cars are just head and shoulders above everybody and have been for X amount of years. And I think those Midwest guys with, Bellamere and those guys running over there, they're finding out also, like, wherever they go, wherever the Killer Bees go, they're going to be winning a giant percentage of the races. The ones they don't win will be when something breaks or a lucky break. And eventually we saw it in Pro Mod. There were 35 Pro Mod cars, and then there were 30, and then there were 25, and then there's 20. Why? Well, that's the nature of it. This is going to be great. And oh man, Stevie Fast, this guy, wow, Jose Gonzalez, boy, they're really good. Boy, they spent a lot of money. Let's go do something else.
I think there's some of that, but I think that you go back in the history of time. There was a time when Brad Anderson was unbeatable. There was a time when Pat Austin was unbeatable, when Frank Manzo was unbeatable, and yet there were still a number of other cars that came out and competed. So I think, and strictly my opinion, but I think, the finances have just gotten to the point where it's difficult to make sense out of it, especially when you can go race a top sportsman car and run way down in the 6s, or you can go run a Pro Mod car and, run close to the same performance level and maybe even have more opportunities to run. If you've got a Pro Mod car, there are a lot of different sanctions, a lot of different organizations where you can run. If you've got an alcohol funny car, you don't have quite as many options other than NHRA. And yes, you mentioned the Midwest Funny Car Association. I know there are a couple places, Funny Car Chaos, obviously you can go run, but you don't have as many options, and especially options that you could be the headliner series like you can with a Pro Mod.
Right, exactly. And Nicole also mentions, rain in the pits, past few years at Houston, bad memories. There's a witch's brew of reasons why any one thing may or may not happen. But love me some alcohol funny car, and that's why we talk about it on a regular basis. Alan, great job as usual. Any final thoughts you want to part the WFO universe with?
Nope, just that I'm ready to go to Houston. I'm looking forward to it, looking forward to getting into the busy part of the season, and I can't wait to head down there. It's going to be nice to get on an airplane, not have to put on a mask. Yes, exactly. The choice. I think I'm going to have one in my pocket just in case, that person gets next to you. Like happens to me 2-3 times a year, always getting a sick person right behind me. Oh, there they are. Right. Just like I got the earplugs for the crying baby, which inevitably is there too. Right. Fortunately, I don't have to be in the middle seat anymore because then I would have one on the left and one on the right. Crying baby, sick person. But whatever. It is what it is. It is what it is. But I'm looking forward to Houston. I am really looking forward to going down there, and hopefully we'll have decent weather. And if we have decent weather, we will put on a great show. That's all we need. Give us decent weather. We'll take it from there. Exactly. Final time. Alan, great job as usual. I'll see you later on this week. Thanks, Joe. Travel safe. There he goes, the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, with us here on WFO Radio. Let's get some comments in the comment section, guys. Clear my throat. Let me clear my throat. And let's get your thoughts on a couple of different things that are going down out there. Like Derek, on hidden horsepower, Greg Anderson talked about raising the rev limiter to 11,000 RPMs. How realistic do you think that would be? Well, I don't know. We'll talk about that next week, right? We'll talk about that next week. It's been kicked around a little bit. I don't see any changes in pro stock, honestly. I don't see any changes. I don't see any changes coming because they, I think, feel as if they have solved the problem, right? You've got how many cars? You got 22 in many races, 20. So yes, you might bring back some Dodge engines if you raised it to 11,000. You might go a little faster, but then all of a sudden you're spending more money. And I feel like they've got in a nice comfort zone right now. And so I don't know. Greg wanted to go to 540 cubic inches too. He wants to go faster is the whole point. Greg wants to go faster. Simple as that. All right. Comments in the comment section. And real quick, I'm going to tell you about a couple of things. Yeah, I was in LA for a 50th birthday party this past weekend. It was kind of cool, but I was monitoring the Spring Fling Million and did a great job. Guys at Bang Shift streamed it. And I saw a lot of WFO Universe folks out there. And whether it be, and if you want to go on to Ignition and see a full report by Troy, who does our, big money bracket minute, he broke it all down. But it was Kevin Brannon who got the job done on $1 Million Friday over Spencer Massey, and the numbers that were getting thrown out. And I just want to talk about this big money bracket racing, moment it's having. This Spring Fling Million, there are other millions, the original million of the other millions, and those are all great, has become one of the premier motorsport events in the world. They had like 530 entrants for the $1 Million race. That's crazy. But the only thing that they do lack is spectators, like front gate, like people going to watch it. But I don't think that that's impossible, honestly. I think that it's possible. And Nate and Mike Eames, they were doing a great job calling it. It was streamed all around the world. Watching the stream, they were well over 1,000 people watching at any given time. I flipped it on for Pro ET, and you think about the people that are participating. Like Spencer Massey is going to be running Top Fuel. This guy's won Top Fuel races, competed for championships, went out there and had his metal tested and went to the final round. 00. Peeps Pennington, perfect run on the final run in the event. Like stars doing star type things. That's my point. Like you want to go see amazing stuff. You want to go see amazing things happen. Amazing things are happening. And so congratulations to those guys. And yes, the fact that there was a FTI performance transmission
sitting behind the roll cage of a lot of the cars out there is a big part of it. Thanks to Paul Lee, the folks at FTIperformance.com. I know Gary Williams went way into the rounds a couple of times, but if you're planning on getting into the big money bracket racing scene or your local weekend bracket racing scene, or you just have got a high-powered street car and you want a reliable transmission torque converter combination, go to FTIperformance.com. Find out more information. VP Racing Fuels. Obviously, many of them are using VP, but the way I like to look at it is they've got a whole host of products for a whole host of people, whether it be racers, bracket racers, professional level racers, and various other series, but also fuel additives for you and your car out there. Go to your local auto parts store, and to find out how and where, go to vpracingfuels.com. We'll be learning a lot more about them in the coming weeks on WFO Radio. Total Seal Piston Rings, the reference to the Greg Anderson podcast on hidden horsepower. Really great stuff, guys. Like Greg talks about how he was, coming up in Minnesota and the arc of his career and where he went, but also the development, the nonstop development of pro stock engines with Ring Seal and how they work with Total Seal. So interesting. And if you're an engine builder, like for me, we got however many racers out there, stock eliminator, they're gas ported rings, but you got to get them on the phone. You got to talk to these guys. They can help you unlock a percentage of your engine's hidden horsepower. Go to totalseal.com. And who knows, Houston might be a happy place for Hartford. We'll find out this weekend. Phillips Connect. We'll be learning a lot about them as well. Justin Ashley obviously signed on for the rest of the year, and really exciting the products that they have to make over-the-road trucking safer, whether it be light out detection, tractor trailer pairing, brake sensors, all of those things that can make fleet operation safer, but also for you. Now you go to Phillips-Connect.com. It's an enterprise business. So like Joe Castello can't just go buy from Phillips, but you can become a distributor. And so that is interesting. We'd like to sign up for some distributors for those guys, which is very cool. Talk about Marvin Rodak all the time, guys. Like you don't have to be an enterprise to buy coffee from Marvin Rodak. You can get a pound of coffee ordered, sent wherever you are, fresh per your order. And they've got a different blend for everybody. For instance, they got the WFO Radio blend. They got the Joe Morrison Nitro blend. Haven't seen Joe yet. Where you been, Joe? But call Marvin, 817-924-6821. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. They've got the Dragster Adventure where you can drive a dragster. And I say it all the time. Until you've done it, you're really missing out on something amazing. It's such a great feeling. Big block Chevrolet sitting behind the roll cage. Awesome. And samtech.edu. I'm super excited to see Brian Massengill and the team this weekend down there at Houston. Their home track, there'll be a lot of Samtech cars. Everybody gunning to win the final one. It's another level of intensity. And Alan was talking about extra motivation. The best of the best don't need extra motivation, but there is extra motivation on the line. To be the final winner at any event, at any track for the ages is something. To be the first, to be the final. Championships, rivals, there are things that people get up on the wheel a little bit extra hard, and this is going to be one of them this weekend. Shout out to our Patreons, the VIP Listener Club out there. We've had many new Patreons jumping on board. They were participating in the Ignition show yesterday. That is available on YouTube. You can go look in the Ignition playlist if you want to see what it's all about. But it's really designed to be an audio-only show. The Patreons get to watch the record session, participate in the chat section. They also get their special show, Monday Motivation, which almost happened today on Tuesday, and a whole host of stuff, including a little bit of swag, which, as soon as I get to the post office, which will happen, they'll be getting their swag. Go to patreon.com/WFO Radio and try joining up or not. It's pretty amazing what has been going on. These guys supporting WFO, and I really appreciate it. All right, let's see what the final comments are. Looking forward to seeing Flying Ryan Ayler out there. All the Pro Stock bikes. Super excited about what's going on this weekend. Let's see what people have to say. All right, Jeff. Had a great time in Houston. Have a great calling it early. Dallas Glenn for the win. Pro Stock. I like it. All right, yeah, let's do it. Predictions. Put them up in the chat section right now, guys. Your predictions for the race. Just list of names, 4 names. We'll see who comes in. I'll do this on Twitter so we get closer to the race as well. Chris, how about factory stock running 4 wide in Charlotte? That should be fun. We did a factory stock podcast with Lenny Loddig. Factory Stock Podcast is back, guys. And, you know, we're doing so much content on WFO that sometimes we're just putting it out there. Factory Stock Podcast is back. Get to know Lenny Lottig, who won in Gainesville. We talk a little bit about the 4-wide. We talk a little bit about his arc getting into Factory Showdown. He's got a Factory X car on order, and you can find that audio only Factory Stock Podcast, or we put it up on our YouTube channel and social media channels. Check them out as part of WFO, because Factory Stock deserves it. So that is coming back after a little bit of, you know, they had a sponsor change and a couple of different elements changed it. But if you want to hear and learn about Lenny Lottig, it was up in all the WFO feeds. Go check it out and share it. Doug Foley Jr. made a lot of laps at the Fling. Related? Yeah, absolutely. That's Doug's son. And excellent racer, has had great success. Great show as always, says Chris. Deep in Hawk saying WFO. Billy Carroll. I imagine the price of unobtainium is through the roof these days. Well, absolutely it is. Everything is. You know, my feeling is, okay, so you had 537 cars at the Fling, right? So people are going to do what they want to do. They might cut back on stuff that they really don't care about, whether they're going to do it or not, but they're going to do what they want to do. And what we're going through right now, I think, is a multifaceted, what is it? My parents finally got a cell phone. Blake's got a cell phone. Call you on my cell phone. Thanks, Joe and Alan. Great show today. Joe, you should join Alan and I for dinner either Friday or Saturday, says Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. I don't know what I got going out there. But, you know, it is a busy weekend. I do appreciate it. All right. Your predictions in the comment section, guys. Let's get this going. Let me just say this, okay? Masks are coming off. They had extended the mandate for 15 days. I expect masks are going to be an optional thing for a while. Remember where we were last year? At this time, remember where we were the year before at this time. Yeah, man, gas prices are tough and things are expensive and all, but the demand is through the roof. And that's good. That's good. It's definitely tough to pay $4.50, $5 a gallon. Those of you on diesel. Wow, it's tough. But people are going to do what they want to do, man. And that's what America is all about. You want to do it, you're going to do it. We're all going to do it. And when you see the Fling, that's the best ever event. They killed it. Crushed it. Amazing how things are growing. The car counts are up. Things are going well. And I just want everybody to feel that. Like, are things going good? Are they good right now? I say yes. I think they are. Let's see what people have got going on. All right. Chris says, Tony Schumacher, Tim Wilkerson, Erica Enders, and Angel all seem very viable. That would mean Erica has won 3 of 5 events, and then it's time for people to start getting afraid. Seeing Tony Schumacher go back to Houston, break the tie with 3 other drivers, Kenny Bernstein, Larry Dixon, and Doug Coletta, to become the winningest driver at Houston on his final attempt. That'd be pretty cool. Angel, similar situation. Tied with John Myers. Blake, Angie Smith. Wow, an Angie victory would be really cool. Angie did so well in Gainesville. That would be pretty cool. Erica Enders, Robert Height, Tony Schumacher. No real thick limbs right there. Greg Anderson won the final Atlanta race, so I'll go with GA and Pro Stock. Way to go, Steve Brenwald of Brenwald Media. That's like putting it together. Like, who wins these final races on a like who? And that would be Greg's 100th win. So final win at Houston and the 100th victory for Greg Anderson. That would be kind of cool. Tony Schumacher, not Maker, man. Caps, Erica, and Smith. You pick. Which Smith? Come on, Dragster Jeff. You got to narrow it down. Matt or Angie? That's 2 picks for Angie Smith. Angie, if you're out there, the crowd is behind you. Steve Torrance, John Forrest, Greg Anderson, Karen Stouffer in Houston. That's a lot of wins right there, Lonnie. A lot of wins. Adding up. Mask mandate still in Philly. Yeah, no, I know. But didn't they just have like a pop? That's another thing, man. Like, facts change. Got to be flexible. This is not the last time we're ever going to have to worry about a bug in the rest of our lives, as much as I hope. That would be great if it was. But the day something comes out, I'll be ready to avoid it. Brittany Force, Alexis DeJoria, Camry Caruso, and Karen Stouffer. So a historic winner's circle at Houston for the final race, says Mark. Mark, that would be pretty cool. We might make the news if that happened. And then somehow I also doubt it, right? Like, what do we got to do to get a little coverage in our wonderful world of drag racing? How about all of our professional winners are all lady racers in a world that is still mostly dominated by men? Would that get the drag racing world a little respect? Probably not. Dallas with Erica as the runner-up. Oh, man, that would very much annoy E. Tony Schumacher, Wilk, and Angie. That's 3 for Angie now. And Aaron Stanfield and Factory Stock Showdown. They're not running. That would be in Charlotte. E, Tony, Hagan with his new brand. Go watch the Hagan brand video, guys. Not my thing, but that doesn't mean I can't watch it or be interested. Hagan allowed himself to be branded. They burned him. And Hagan says he watches. Matt, what are you doing, man? The Sarge, Caps, Greg Anderson, Steve Johnson. Okay, Steve Johnson gets in on the mix. I'm sure Steve, who's out there watching, probably getting fired up that George is in on it. Dragster Jeff likes the all-female winner circle. I agree. I think who doesn't? Who doesn't like it? Branding, scary stuff. Yeah, I was shocked. We're doing the Ignition show, and I'm talking a little bit about Formula One. Alan Reinhart talked about we're going to Houston and we're going to Charlotte, and then he's doing divisional races. I'm going to stay here in Miami for the Formula One race, and I'm going to be going there. And if you're interested in Formula One, I have found there is a lot of NHRA Formula One crossover. Not everybody, but a healthy percentage. More than NASCAR? Maybe. The extreme nature of the sports, like people who are into really extreme stuff, tend to go to drag racing, and Formula One is also very extreme. Extreme budgets, extreme RPM, extreme everything. Unobtainium, metals, everything that's just beyond understanding, right? And so Formula One Miami is happening. We've been showing some of the photographs on the Ignition show. If you want to see the track, if you want to see the way it's coming, are they ready? Are they ready to have a race there, right? I don't think they are. That's the stadium. This is me driving by on the airport, popping out a couple of shots. You can see one of the turns right there by the highway. That is one of the turns, and they are not ready yet. And they have 19 days to go till a lot of people who paid a lot of money are going to be at Hard Rock Stadium for Formula One, the first of 2 races this year in the MIA. In the United States. Don't forget, tomorrow we've got Mr. Paul Lee going to be on the show. Going to be talking about these 2 guys, among other things. 12 noon is the time. 12 noon is the time that Paul Lee will be joining us on the show. So be ready. All right, here's a couple more. DeJoria, Justin, Dallas, Angel. Angel, the lady racers in Pro Stock Motorcycle dominate the popularity contest. Angel and Angie. Get those 2 in the final round. That would be pretty great. E, Hagan, Force, Angie. So I think Matt Hagan would like that winner circle. Talking about Brittany, obviously. Carlos, huge Formula One fan here, heading to Austin in October. A lot of people went to Austin. They got more. They have take 400,000 people, and Miami takes 65,000 people. I was going to put my couple of my tickets up on Ticket Exchange for Saturday, maybe. I'm going to go to the race and one other day, Friday or Saturday, and I'm going to sell my tickets, my 4 tickets for one of the days. They're going for a lot of money. It's pretty crazy. I'm going to put them up on the Ticket Exchange. Let's see, Stouffer, Quadra, which one? BT3, Foley. Spelling not correct. That's okay, Eric. But you got to pick a Quadra, man. I can't let you slide through on that. GA also won the final race in Englishtown. Look at Brenwald coming up with stuff, man. GA, where else, Steve Brenwald? I will take this stat and I will use it on the air at the NHRA and it will give you the credit while here. I wanted to go to Miami, but it sold out quick. Yeah, in 5 minutes, 4 minutes. Ordered my WFO sign. Just got it today. Great deals. Really? That's Ford. Ford is a Patreon. I know that because he went to the WFO store. The WFO store was having a sale. We got some new designs up there in the WFO store, and he ordered a sign last week, and he already got it. That's great. Way to go, Ford. You should use YouTube so we can see your name. Thank you, Joe says. Blake, good luck with the cell phone. I hated to see Bunker leave Gerardo, but it's good to see him get a shot on the tour. Yeah, that's my point, right? It's an ecosystem. It's a feeder system, right? You need Tony Gerardo out there. You need all those guys out there. There was a time where those guys weren't out there. They need to be out there. Alex Miladinovich, they all need to be out there. They need to be out there. They need to feel welcome. They need to feel like they're getting somewhere, that it's worth their while, that it's fun, so that not just them, but they're 5 races, 8 races, 2 races, like however many races, and not just them, but everybody that works with them. We have to replenish the crew guys. You got to replenish the crew chiefs, the knowledge. You can't silo the information because you damage the sport in eventually. And that's what happened with Pro Stock. It was like so restricted and so tight that nobody knew how to do it. And now the information is getting out. There's a bunch of reasons. But I think Jason, I went up to him once and I was like, who are you, man? Like after another good run, because he didn't just come out of nowhere. If you're a West Coast guy, nostalgia, knowledgeable, all of that. But if you don't follow that scene, like this guy has come up and done a great job, and now he's getting a shot at the big show with Dustin Heim. I'm super excited. My only question is, the 5-disc clutch versus the 6-disc he's been working on. Is that going to be a problem? My thing is, I think Dustin's going to worry about that. But we'll talk to Paul tomorrow, and he'll answer many of our questions. Gianna Salinas running. She's not on the entry list. Remember, she had a kind of a nasty fall and is mending, but she's going to be back. Only the second race. She's got a chance to make the countdown, or even not. She wants to do it the right way. They're not going anywhere. That's the thing about the Salinas family, guys. They're here. This is what they're doing. They love drag racing. They love the sport, the people, and people love them. Like, are we going to be, what's it going to be like when we kind of poke our nose into this sport? They've got fans. They're doing a great job on social media. It's, Gianna will get an opportunity to show her stuff and run for a championship in not a long time. E.E. Hagan, Steve Torrence, no Pro Stock motorcycle pick. Yes. Christian, thank you, Eric. Everything's going good with my cell phone. That's awesome. That is awesome. Everything's going good with the show. All right, guys, I'm out. Thank you very much for supporting WFO Radio and our sponsors. Remember, you can go to the WFO store right there on the website, WFOradio.com. And I'm going to have to update these pictures because we've got some new designs and we're always working on some new stuff. Our Facebook group got attacked by spammers this past weekend while I was at my friend's 50th birthday party. And, we fought them off. But we're going to definitely keep expanding our gear because I got annoyed that the spammers ad was pretty good. Like, yeah, that's a good ad. Too bad it's a link to something bad. But they did a good job. Congratulations to Chris Cunningham and my good personal friend, Charlie Kababi. Pontiac Charlie from Miami, who is definitely not watching this right now. Warpath Performance. Charlie sold us our first set of cylinder heads for our 78 Pontiac Firebird and has been a great friend for many years. Got inducted into the Miami Hollywood Speedway Hall of Fame this past weekend with Chris Cunningham. That's what I'm saying. That's what's amazing about the Miami Hollywood Speedway reunion group. I hope that you never have to experience what it's like to go to a car show and connect with everybody about a track that has been lost to progress. But if you do, may you do it in as great a fashion as these guys do it, because they're not letting go. The relationships, the friendships, the fun, the good times, the Hall of Fame. I was honored to be inducted in 2018 as final announcer and the guy who took the Christmas tree off the starting line. Way to go, Chris. Daryl Gwynn, a big part of it as well. Billy knows Charlie. Yeah, Kababi. Pontiac Charlie gets in there. So cool. All right, guys, thank you very much. Really appreciate all of you out there. Remember, tomorrow, 12 noon. I know 12 noon throws everybody off. Wednesday, 12 noon. Paul Lee, be ready. We're going to talk about the crew chiefs. We're going to talk about driving funny cars. We're going to talk about the Phoenix Rising.